I think what makes this matchup so exciting is the fact that everyone has questions about how good is Michael Chandler. And I think that, I was a little pissed when he first came over and it was, oh, he's going to fight Khabib. Like he's a replacement for Khabib, or he's going to fight for the belt right away. Like, no, didn't like that. I think that this is a perfect test for him. This is the perfect first fight in the UFC for him. I'm excited to see it. I've been very judgmental of guys that like him, like Askren, that have made the jump over to the UFC at a later in their career. It hasn't worked out more times than it has. And so I don't know. Dan Hooker is much taller. As you said earlier, he's proven to be able to stuff takedowns. Now, granted, Michael Chandler is like next level wrestling, but you just look at the body of work from Michael Chandler, and 21-5 is impressive. But when you're running against Benson Henderson 3 times and you've already lost to a guy in Brent Primus and all that stuff, like that to me doesn't scream very exciting. What is interesting is if you look at Michael Chandler's stats, so he actually his accuracy is at a 47%, where Hooker's at 48, and he averages almost 2.5 takedowns a fight. But Hooker's I think he's going to keep the fight at a distance. He's going to pick him apart. You also have to factor in he's got pretty decent kicks. I really like Hooker in this fight. I've tried to get on the Michael Chandler hype train. I really have. Like, I've looked at the competition. I've tried because he's been talked about forever. I just can't get excited about it. I can't. There's something about it, and maybe he'll prove me wrong. And if he does, that's great. It makes for great talking points on this show. I just got to go Dan Hooker here, and I think I'm gonna go TKO. I think Dan Hooker is gonna pick him apart.
It feels that way. I feel the same exact way. I feel like I don't know what it is, but like we know Dan Hooker. We've seen him around. We know how dangerous he can be. We just don't know about Michael Chandler. Just like flat out, like I don't have a good reason to choose him just based on how great Dan Hooker has looked in the UFC versus how Michael Chandler has. Yeah, he has been pretty dominant in Bellator, but he does have some losses. And I remember watching his fight against Benson Henderson, and I just really wasn't satisfied with what I saw. I just didn't think it was like next level competition. If he was 30-0 in Bellator, maybe I'd give him more stock, but he has been beaten by what we think is lesser competition. Dan Hooker's just going to be a much bigger guy. I think he's going to be a stronger guy. He can strike. He can also wrestle. He has a background with grappling and whatnot. So if it goes to the ground, I think he'll be able to make some moves there. I think there's just so much on Michael Chandler to prove everyone wrong, and there's just not enough for me to go on to give him the advantage. And I did kind of look into his background a little bit. Chandler was like a D1 collegiate wrestler. Like he has a ton of accolades at Division I, which is awesome. Like we see that pretty common in the UFC with some of these guys. But it's just, I don't know, man. I don't know what it is. It's just the Bellator name. I just can't put too much stock into it. So he has to earn it. After this, maybe I'll take him more serious if he gets a win, but I have to go with Hooker, and I also go TKO.
Also, he wasn't even the champ when he left Bellator. Like, he lost the belt to Patricio Pitbull.
I feel like if Patricio came, it'd be like kind of a different story, right?
Yeah. But he lost the belt to Primus, won it back, then lost it to Pitbull, and then he won his last 2, but one was against Outlaw and Benson Henderson. Like, and both of them were KOs, which is great, but they're not Dan Hooker. So it's just I've tried. I've honestly tried to get hyped about Michael Chandler, and I cannot do it, and I don't know why.
And it's just, I think a lot of it really just has to do with just it's just this division and how stacked it is. And like Dan Hooker, yes, he's number 6, but like, dude, he's like right there with all these top 5 guys. Like he is so good. Like your first UFC debut is going to be against a killer in Dan Hooker. You got to prove me wrong. I'm sorry.
They could have put Chandler against Paul Felder, and I think I'm riding with Paul Felder. Like,
right.
Felder in a full camp has shown to stuff takedowns, and I think he would pick Michael Chandler apart. Like, I really do. And that's just my take right now. And like you said, maybe he proves us wrong, and it's great for content. And, in ways I hope it happens. But like you said, if he shows us this weekend that he can do it, then we start taking him a little bit more serious.
No doubt Hooker's a cooker. He'll throw you on the grill, chew you up, spit you out. But I think what we're going to find out here is Chandler's a handler, right? He's gonna. I think he'll take it to the ground and he'll handle Hooker. Maybe not dominantly, but I think Hooker will slip up and Chandler will get him in a submission, and that's how we'll see this end. So I'm going to go Chandler with a submission.
Which Hooker has not fought anyone as good of a wrestler as Chandler. So I don't like, I'm not saying it can't happen. Like he could take Hooker to the ground and throw up subs and Hooker have no idea what's going on. But also what's going to make that so tough is just the size difference. Hooker is just so much taller. Like it's so much harder to throw submissions up on a guy when you have shorter arms and are a shorter guy. It's hard to keep the submission too.
Yeah, and I'm not sure where Chandler's cardio is at, but I did rewatch the Dustin Poirier Dan Hooker fight. Granted, Hooker was like pretty gassed after, like around round 4/5, but that was like an absolute war. And Dustin Poirier's pace is just so much more than what I think Michael Chandler's will be. So it's kind of hard to compare those two. But Poirier was able to land some of the takedowns kind of later on when Hooker was more tired. So I could, maybe it goes that direction. I just, again, I don't know enough about Michael Chandler and his cardio and like what his power is like. How often does he get the takedowns? I don't really know too much.
41.67% of the time.
There you go. There you go.